Peace, peace.
Okay now.
Okay now. The voices tell it all. We know what it is.
Come on.
Yeah,
Let's ride
this
this.
is a trio right here.
Oh, I gotta stop
That's
that,
right.
man. I gotta stop that.
Okay.
Let's ride. Let's
Got
ride.
in a
What
lot of
up?
trouble, this trio. They
Listen, man.
had to break
Oh,
us up.
this is heavyweight right here. Listen, this might be the recording, man. Shout out to Bump That Radio and Real Reach Radio that's coming at you. Told you we was gonna flip the script on you, man. You're gonna get it from every angle. You got the website. You're gonna be able to see brothers read letters, hear their poems, because we have an online magazine to reach with Real Reach Radio. Anyway, Fuquan. Man, we've been waiting on you. We didn't talk to everybody, man. I'm telling you, it's been heavy. Skin Tight been here, man. The King been here. You dig what I'm saying? Vice Lords, man. We got M here, man. We got you here, man. We going to Kiko like it's heavyweight, and then we had the Queen come through, Jackie, man. She done created a whole nother show, just so you know, bro, because we got into the sisters, so now we got to have a show. We got to deal with it. But it's a pleasure to have you here, man. How you doing?
Word up. Nah, I'm focused, man. Just organizing for tonight. You know, we got the wrongful conviction, fighting that, man, trying to get the attention of the Attorney General.
Oh, we on a Zoom tonight. Is that right?
Yeah, from 6 to 8.
Okay, I got to remember that I'm on a Zoom. Em, you on the Zoom, right?
Yep, I'm there.
You see what I'm saying? I got so many call-ins, man. I got to remember I'm on Zoom. I got to dress for that, too. Listen, bottom line, we on there at 6 o'clock, man. You tell them about the Zoom. Go ahead, Fuquan, fill them in. Tell them what we doing, and you let people know.
Yeah. Nah, I appreciate that. So what we've been researching for the last, decade plus is just Suffolk County in Massachusetts, in Boston, man, one of the most corrupt counties per capita in this country when it comes to wrongful convictions. Just not just law enforcement, but district attorney's office is suppressing exculpatory evidence for defendants. And, for those that don't know, in Suffolk County, 70% of the cases that got overturned in the last 30 years was rooted upon governmental misconduct, which means like law enforcement or police departments intimidating witnesses, prosecutors not disclosing exculpatory evidence. So we feel like that demands an investigation because most of those compromised are black and brown. See, Suffolk County in Massachusetts is majority minority, meaning the majority of the citizens are black and brown residents. So those getting wrongfully convicted just happen to be black and brown. So there's already been studies, commissions from the SJC, ACLU, the mayor's office through the St. Clair report. The U.S. attorney did an investigation in 91 with the William Bennett fiasco. So now we're saying that this is the moment which requires the DOJ or the Attorney General to investigate the racial amicus or just the racial disparity seen throughout the system. Because those that don't know, attorney generals of states oversee police departments and district attorneys. So when you have district attorneys or assistant district attorneys who ultimately have been part of Brady violations or not providing exculpatory evidence to defendants, and they still going on with their job rather than being disbarred. You got police officers who intimidate witnesses, don't reveal exculpatory evidence, and continue on with investigations. So they're considered like bad apples when in truth, they're just part of a rotten tree. So tonight we're organizing different groups and those that do this work and centering our aim of just creating a joint complaint to the Attorney General to investigate the racial amicus in Suffolk County. Because currently there's a DOJ investigation in Worcester. There was one recently passed in Springfield. Now that the ACLU and Matt Siegel's over that because they didn't even comply with the consent decree in Springfield because of their corruption. So we're just asking for the same thing as Suffolk. We feel like it's long overdue.
Word. Mac, you want to expound on any of that? Listen, if you guys, well, I can't say law firm, or maybe over here, but if we was doing some legal right now, we'd be right where you'd want to be. But Mac, you want to expound on that a little bit? We're talking to Mac Hudson, and he happened to be on move, and damn, I need to be on point. Let's go.
Oh no, I think my brother, man, he explicitly set it out the way it is. That's just right to the point. I don't think I can add any more to that or take away any less from it. So yeah, I think he hit everything on the nail.
Okay, well then the nail's been hit, man. So that's one piece of wood up, man. We builders. Fuquan, take us through, take us through what's happening on the inside, man. Take us through how you feeling, what's going on. I'm gonna go right to that. You know what I mean? What can we do and what we need to know?
Yeah, so today they had locked it down somewhat, just to go through the tablets for the whole camp. So we really couldn't have the movement like we generally would have, but everyone's out and about now. The biggest thing, like I built on last week, everyone's just thinking about that clemency, the executive clemency provisions, especially a lot of old timers. And I had brothers come up to me yesterday because they had an AACC meeting, and I was really breaking down to brothers the racial disparity element within the new executive clemency guidelines. And I had brothers down 50 years, 40 years, like, yo, fool, I ain't think I got a shot, but is there any way you can help me create this clemency and commutation? Now, I got a lot on my hands, but I'm definitely offering time in our Harriet Tubman project, man, to help these brothers figure out a way home. And it's just another avenue. Brothers is waiting for the juvenile to get passed. So everyone's anxious about an opportunity to get free. And because we've already set up these institutions for guys to learn and how to get prepared, it's just really inviting them more participants in these spaces. The further avenues begin to open up for brothers to get home. So that's what we've really been organizing around and centering our energies around as of late.
I want to say this right here for both of you guys, because this is wow. This is what a day I'm having, right? I want to say that to the universe, however it gets out, right? If this world, right, knew exactly what we're sitting on, right, they wouldn't be blowing up nothing, getting to nobody. They would actually be saying, make use of that, right? If I have both of you, that's why it's so important to me to get you here, Fu. If I have both of you, I don't have to think about changing the world. I know the world would change, right? And I think what someone thinks I do, we've been better together. That's just a slogan for everybody else. We've been better together. You know what I mean? Nothing like us. I'm gonna say that myself. I mean that.
Told you they had to break us up. They couldn't have us in the same camp for too long. They like, we shipping you out, and yeah, you stay here.
Let's enjoy a good story, man, that we can get the truth on here, Em. Get the truth on. And and let's, what's your favorite time? Use us three. Let's get from both of you guys a time that you recall. Don't make it nothing on me, Em. Make a time that we recall that we enjoyed, man. Something we created, something we enjoyed. Talk about it.
Hold on, before we want you do that, though, I just wanted to say one thing about the clemency. I mean, I think the governor did add some other components to it that actually set folks up for some consideration. The problem with it is that in the clause is that what does it mean to have exemplary conduct? I mean, how do you get that when you're only at a medium facility, right? And so even though these other things all these other criteria have been put in there, none of them absolve that exemplary conduct. And what I think is, it's almost like double talking, because it's like, all right, we know that just good conduct by itself has never constituted that. It don't even constitute parole, for that matter. So how do we now figure out, or they need to figure out or define that for us, given that you have a large sense of lifers who cannot go down to medium facilities now that you done took away the furloughs? What does exemplary conduct means in this light?
Well, it can't mean, one thing it can't mean is those certificates, right? Now, this is what I'm saying, because I've been saying this to people, no disrespect to Harvard or nobody else, right? But you see what's going on in the world. I've been saying, try pulling up to your neighborhood gas station and walk in there and tell the gas man, listen, man, I got a couple of certificates from the DOC. I even got a couple of senators, letters and senators and certificates, and I don't think they're going to be giving us no free gas. I think they still going to want the money, right? The money is what the issue is. We talked about that earlier, and I want you, Fuquan, to relate to the people, relate to the people why I might be saying the money is the issue, because this is about money.
Nah, word up. You want to break that down, Em?
I mean, in simplistic terms, it's about keeping the beds occupied, right? For otherwise would be a shrinking population of folks. I mean, we see them do this in the maximum security all the time. The great number of maximum security beds is occupied by black and brown folks up in the max, but they all qualify to be in medium security. And they have limited beds of medium security because they don't have enough minimum space beds, right? So now what we're talking about is who get resources to those beds, right? Which is not black and brown folks, but white folks get the majority of access to those beds and the minimum in pre-releases, right? And they congest us. They keep us congested into these medium facilities and high securities, and while depriving us access to almost every program service that we're entitled to. Thus leads the reason why we have to build our own resources while in, and I said it, you've heard it, we have to build our own resources in order to get the accommodations that we're entitled by law to have. So yeah, it's about money. It's about keeping us in a state of perpetual slavery.
And to add on to your point, this is one key area that I'm always desirous of everyone understanding. Before 1865, you wasn't dealing with mass incarceration. You were dealing with mass surveillance. Because anywhere you went and you walked around, where's your papers? Who's your master? Where are you going? Man, get out of here. Go back on the plantation. Because they couldn't incarcerate at that time. We was considered property, right? So the biggest thing was mass surveillance. Once 1865 came, black codes, peg laws, pretty much criminalizing black skin, begin the era of mass incarceration of black and brown. So even with the decrease, because Massachusetts is one of the smallest populations in prison throughout the country per capita now, but people negate the surveillance component. So nationally, we're migrating from mass incarceration back to mass surveillance, and a lot of money is going into surveillance, more so than incarceration. So when you look at the numbers and an investment, it doesn't go to private prisons as it was during the 90s boom, the super predators era, the crime bill era. It's going more towards surveillance. So more industries are investing more in surveillance than they are prisons. So they're letting guys home, but they're getting home on a bracelet. And there's more institutions and industries that invested more so in the surveillance, more so than physical detainment. So they just simply going back to mass surveillance, which predates mass incarceration.
And there's two things for me, right? And I know I could chop it up with both of you guys. One, I'll tell you what, I'll throw it right back to you, Fu, because I know how the time works. And the other one I'd like you to take on, right, M? One of those things, M, that I'd like you to take on and consider is the fact to remind these people out here that when they say they free and let freedom ring and they're going to do a Martin Luther King thing coming up, I'm sure, right? When they're doing all that, remind them this amendment is only an amendment. We'll be renewing it every 25 years, so I want you to jump on that, right? Our language is real simple, you know what I mean, for them to understand. So I'd like you to come to that. And what I want to do with you, Fu, is look at the numbers. We talked about earlier the idea that, you know, most of those beds, and M was breaking it down, are for white males that they'll move through the system, right? And probably white women over there in the women prison. We cannot forget the women prisons, right? But you know, we have another issue at hand. One of those issues we took on in the prison, Fool. You remember walking the yard and trying to talk to the Spanish dudes, right? And we had our brother on here just the other day talking about it. Why don't you take on the issue so they understand when I say it's mathematics, watch the count. Most of the men, right, Hispanic, Latino, of any other, you know, race going down this line, they had on their IDs white. Right?
White.
Yeah, and I remember I made a big thing about that in jail because they're not white, so they could get a better bed, right? So why don't you take them there so they understand that count probably went in there too? What you think about that?
Yeah, so in brief, so how DOC allocates its funding from the feds is that they utilize a yearly census that's conducted, and they create a census based on intake. So you got a lot of Latino brothers or brothers from Latin America or South America come here, and they're like, yo, so if they don't know too much English, even if, like, I'm caramel color, they'd be like, man, you white, Hispanic, right? And when you look at the numbers, so currently the numbers in Massachusetts, 18% of the residential population is represented as 62% of the jails and prison population in Department of Corrections. But if they really took a raw number of Latinos or those considered Hispanic, and took the white abbreviation off, those numbers will be elevated. And that's important because that goes to funding for programming to help elevate ethnicity, education. It deals with staff diversity on an administrative level more so than the security component with COs. But they get to justify like a colorblind approach of dealing with the system based on the skewing of numbers, whether Caucasian, Latino, and what's considered Black or African American. The numbers get skewed because they validate funding in areas that are disproportionately impacting Black and brown communities. So, like you said, I remember in Old Colony, they told everybody to change the census, right? They haven't done it since then. And like you said, we've been pushing for brothers to have the option to go in there and alter and modify white, Hispanic, or white, and just keep it Hispanic so that the funding is appropriated correctly when it comes to program services in addition to staffing and the corrections that we overpopulate just with our numbers, just to share numbers.
No, and this is something that we know. You see what I'm saying? So that's why it was important to me to bring that to the people, right? Now, M, on a legality side, let's just say I'm saying, and I got the one I want to bring up. I got exactly what I want to bring up as a group. But on a legality side, what would you say to the idea of me just saying I'm free? And what would you tell me about constitutions and amendments that may say, hey, this is getting renewed every 25 or so years, throwing a bone at you?
First, I'm trying to understand the context because there's so many things that apply to that interpretation.
Well, maybe the 13th Amendment. Maybe we can break one of these amendment downs. There's only so many got to do with blacks now, and to get renewed. Most people don't know that. They think that is already locked in.
Well, first, let me just add on to one thing about what my brother said. Is that when you come through that intake, you're supposed to self-identify who you are.
Exactly.
They don't allow you to self-identify. What they do is they just identify based on sight, and that is purposefully done because they're skewing the numbers so that it gives the appearance that there's more whites than any other population in that prison, and based on that is the allocation of where the resources go. So our greatest fights have been about trying to get resources for the programs and the services that we as Black and brown folks are deserving of, right? Again, our entitlements. So you got to keep in mind, even for the nation of gods and earth, there's supposed to be, someone that's considered a clergy person that comes in that's supposed to be paid. And a lot of folks don't understand that in the statute itself allows them to petition for appropriations for that specific purposes. But they haven't done that. They've always said we don't have the budget for it. Even though they have the legitimacy to do that, they don't do it for Black and brown folk. It took years for a Nation of Islam individual to get hired in the system. And this is some 25 years later.
You have 1 minute left.
You know what I'm saying? So when we talk about program support like cultural programming,
the caller has hung up.
The AAC, Spanish United. And
now we're going to wait. We got the art of Fuquan. My brother Free Fuquan is the hashtag. Free Fuquan is the real life. And, you can find him on Instagram. So just follow that hashtag. And go ahead in between time. Let's run that down. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No. And I was just merely commenting, just saying that, that at the root of these things is that they do not want to have to service a population which they know is the dominant population in these facilities, right? The only question where that may not be the case is Norfolk, where it seems that there probably is more white beds space made available